Hey guys, so we are back with Study with Me live sessions, and today we'll be revising front end engineering. Um, what should I say? Languages like JavaScript and React. So yeah, let's dive into interview questions. Question number one: what are the data types in JavaScript? So there are 8 data types in JavaScript, divided into two categories. The first one is primitive, which is simple data types that are number, string, boolean, undefined value, null value, symbol, and big int. Next, we have non-primitive, which can have multiple kind of primitive data types. For example, you can see we have let number equal to 42, let string equal to hello, boolean equal to all, undefined value, null value. Symbol is also there, big int and object. Next question: what is the difference? You know what? I'll quickly search what do we mean by symbol exactly. Curiosity. Okay. Yeah, chat GPT. I'll just see what is symbol. What is symbol data type in JS? JS for interview. I'm just searching on Google. Like I'm having JS for interview. So candidate and where is it used? Right. So regarding uh, symbol, symbol is a primitive data type introduced in SLint 6. It's used to create unique identifiers. Even if two symbols have the same description, they are always unique. For example, let A is equal to man, let B is equal to man. This is false. It's used when you want to add properties without risk collision. For instance, in large code bases or libraries, I want to attach some internal metadata to an object without worrying that someone else might override it. Hmm. Basically, it is to avoid risk key collisions. So, what is the difference between double equal to and triple equal to? Double equal to is also called loose equality. What it does, it first tries to convert the operands to the same type and then compares their values. This is called type cohesion. Next, triple equals means strict equality. It does not perform type cohesion. It checks both value and data type directly. For example, this is true. What is the difference between null and undefined? Null and undefined are both used to represent the absence of a value. Null, uh, null must be explicitly assigned, and the type of null returns as an object, which is a bug in JavaScript. Next, undefined. It represents a variable that has been declared but not assigned a value, is undefined. Type of undefined is undefined. For example, you can see let null value equal to null. We simply print the null value, but when we print the type, we get an object. Similarly, when we do a let undefined var, console.log undefined var, undefined. Now explain the concept of hosting in JavaScript. So hosting is a behavior in JavaScript where variables and function declarations are moved to top of their respective scopes during the compilation phase before the code is executed. This means that regardless of where the variables and functions are declared in the code, they are treated as if they are declared at the beginning of their scope. For example, console.log x var x equal to 5. Then I get a 5. Here the declaration of x is hoisted to the top but not initialized. That is why first console.log output is undefined. Next is function hoisting. Function declarations are moved to the top with during their compilation phase. So say hello function if I call early. Early. So yeah, I get the output as hello. Hello. It should be high in fact. Now when I call suppose say hi functionality is a variable, I simply do console.log equal to hi. Console.log is hi. Now let and const are declarations are hosted but not initialized. This leads to a temporal dead zone where accessing the variable before its declaration results in a reference error. For example, are hoisted but not initialized. This leads to a temporal dead zone where accessing a variable before a declaration results to a reference error. For example, what is the difference between let, const and var? Var, it is function scoped or globally scoped. It can be redeclared, updated, and hosted and initialized with undefined. Let is block scoped, hosted but not initialized, which leads to temporal dead zone. Const is block scoped, cannot be updated or redeclared. It is also hosted but not initialized, which leads to temporal dead zone. For example, you can see I'm given this function example. I have var x var let const. If true, would throw an error, can't redeclare. Function example. Var x is equal to 1, let y equal to 2, const z is equal to 3. If true, var x is equal to 4, let y is equal to 5, same variable will function scope. The reason I'm writing is to get familiar with the writing part. New variable block scope would throw an error, can't redeclare. Next I'll do console.log x, y, z. Output is my 4, 5 and 3. Then I do over here console.log x, y, z. Let's simply do 4, 2, 3. Var x, same variable function scope. So the value of x got updated. Oh, an error. Reassign const. Yep, so this is the example. Now I'll simply delete the image. So what is the difference between var, let and const? Var is function scope. Var is globally scoped. Function isn't. It can be redeclared and updated and hoisted, and it can be redeclared and updated and hoisted and initialized with undefined. Let is block scoped, hoisted but not initialized, which leads to temporal dead zone. Const is block scoped, cannot be updated, redeclared, can be redeclared, slash updated, slash hoisted, and initialized with undefined. Hoisted but not initialized, redeclared. Cannot be updated or redeclared, hoisted but not initialized. What is variable scope in JavaScript? So variable scope refers to the context in which a variable is declared and can be accessed. In JavaScript, there are two main types of scope: global scope, variable declared outside any function or block, and can be accessed anywhere from inside the code, inside any function. And then we have local scope. Okay, internet issue. Okay. I'm not able to see. Cool. Working. Step. It's okay. I believe it's working. Cool. What is variable scope in JavaScript? So what is variable scope in JavaScript? So variable scope refers to context in which a variable is declared and can be accessed. In JS, there are two main types of scope: Global scope and local scope. It is variables are functions. Variables declared outside any function or block, excel anywhere in the code, including inside functions, have global access. Next we have local scope. So it's variable declared inside a function or a block, only accessible within that block, have local scope. JavaScript uses lexical scoping, which means that inner functions have access to variables outside in their scope. For example, I am having this global variable. Inside this function, I have local variable, and now I can access global variable as well and local variable. I call this function, and now if I call local variable, I will get an error because let is hoisted. I mean, there's no point of hosting over here. Uh, I mean, it's block initialized, right? So that is the difference. What is temporal dead zone? It refers the time. Temporal dead zone refers to the time between entering the scope and the point where a variable declared with let or const is actually initialized. During this period, the variable exists in memory but cannot be accessed. If I try, I'll get a reference error. So temporal dead zone refers to the time between entering a scope and the point where a variable is declared with let or const is actually initialized. During this period, a variable exists in memory but cannot be accessed. If we try to access, we'll get a reference error. This is hoisting. So I declared it later, but I'm accessing it. Where a variable is declared with let or const, it is declared in the next line. Declared with let or const is actually initialized. During this period, the variable exists in memory but cannot be accessed. If I try, I'll get a reference error. The temporal dead zone is useful because it prevents accidental usage of variables before they are properly declared, which makes the code safer and less error prone. Next, what is variable shadowing? It occurs when a variable declared within a certain scope has the same name as the variable in an outer scope. Declared in a certain scope has the same name in the outer scope. The inner variable shadows the outer one, effectively hiding it. You can see the example. Now, what is closure in JS? Closure in JS is a function that has access to variables in its outer lexical scope after the outer function has returned. Closures are created every time a function is created. So if we see the example, create getter, I'm passing a function called hi, accessing the just to drink water as well. that has access to variables in its outer Lexicon scope even after the outer function is returned. So greeting function, casual greeter. I let casual greeter home. The create greeter function returns an inner function which forms a closure. The inner function has access to greeting parameter and outer variables like count. Each time we call it create greeter, it creates a new closure with its enclosed count variable. The return functions maintain their own separate counts representing how closure preserves states. Formal greeter, casual greeter. Different ways to define a function. Simple function and function name with the parameters. You can write const or you can write arrow functions. What is higher order function? It's a function. You know what? I'm a bit confused on closure as well. I will try to understand it. You see that we have used this keyword called const. So casual creator cannot be changed. That is the reason I believe. That is the reason I think we count variable is increasing each time, 1 and 2. If I write something like var arlet, I think this will not work. I'll just quickly confirm with chat GPT as well. Because I declared with count is included. This is an important point. Increment happens because of closures, not because of const. Why higher function? It's a function that treats other functions as data either by taking them as arguments or returning them. For example, function operator operate a comma b operation return operation a comma b. Const a comma b will go for a plus b. This is arrow function and simply now I can write operator. What is a pure function? A pure function is a function that always returns the same output for the same inputs. Has no side effects, does not modify external state, doesn't rely on external state. Makes code more predictable and easier to test. Pure function is a function that always returns the same outputs with the same inputs, has no side effects, doesn't rely on an external state, makes code more predictable and easier to test. Difference between function declaration and function expression. So hoisting, first point is hoisting. Function declarations are hoisted, not function expressions. Second is function declarations can be called before they appear in the code. Function expressions cannot. Function declarations need a name. Function expressions can be anonymous. For example, cannot be hoisted. What is immediately invoked in expression? Invoked function expression EEFE, IIFE. An IIFE is a JavaScript function that runs as soon as it is defined. So, for example, I have this arrow function called console.log and I call this. It is an IIFE. How do you create an object in JavaScript? We can use a function person ES6 class syntax. ES6 is better. Object.create person portfolio greet my function I will call. Let person 3 is equal to object.create. So basically, yeah. You can see the examples. How do you add or remove properties from an object dynamically? Adding properties car.here equal to 2022 and like that. Removing properties means we can use delete keyword. Console.log car.brand is not equal to undefined. True, it checks if a property exists in an object. Here it will return false. How do you check if a property exists in an object? So we can use this undefined as well, but there are other ways like let name is equal to Alice. We can use name in person or person dot has one property like that. What is this keyword in JavaScript? So the this keyword refers to Java object that is executing the current function. Its value is determined by how a function is called. The this keyword refers to the object that is executing the current function. Its value is determined by how a function is called. This keyword represents the object of that function. Refers to the object that is executing current function. For example, you can see what are the difference to loop in JavaScript. So one way is through an array in JavaScript we can use for loop. We can use for each method and we can use for of method, map method, fruits.map. And then we can use while loop, do while loop. My trackpad got a little wet, I believe. Iterates over the enumerable property keys. It also includes keys from a prototype chain until we filter them with has-on property. In JavaScript, objects can inherit from their prototype. When I use for an object, for example, for in and for of, right? For object, this is my object and I traverse it. Let key in object. For of, it iterates value of an iterator object. Let value of array. So in is for key dictionary where for let key in this and off is for normal. I mean non-primitive data, let value of array. If I use foreign on an array, it will give me indexes as strings, not the actual values. So if I use this, it will give me strings. Since A is mapped to 0 index, B is mapped to 1 index. List for objects. How do you add or remove properties in an element? Push, pop, shift, unshift, splice. From an array. Push, pop, shift, unshift, splice. Alright guys, we are going to take around 15 minutes break over here. I want to take a little bit rest. I did not do lunch because I am not in the right mood to do lunch. So yeah, I'll just lie down. I don't know how is that going to look to you. Look at your head, but I'm sure you don't feel it. Oh boy. Oh, it's visible. 15 minutes break. Hello. Why 27? Rishabh Raj. I mean, I can't do that. 4 to 5 hours. Oh wait, not expect it to be faster this much. September, October, November. Hmm. In that sense, I can join on Saturday. Sunday would be off anyways. Uh, I can join on Saturday. That is 30th. Alright. So I was like one day. You can prepone it to 20th. Works. Dude, I'm sorry, but chilling time. In the sense, I can join on Saturday and be off on yes. And I can join. 6 days a week only. 20th. Chilling time. What the hell, man? Oh, hell. Holy cow. थोड़ा सा चिल करो ना. Okay, just a sec. I should have fine. अबे चिलिंग टाइम क्या होता है? Sorry. Alright, guys, I'm back. It's break for the week. Took 25 minutes. What is the purpose of map function? The map creates a new array with the results of calling the provided function of every element in the array. For example, const numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Using map to double each number. Thank God she was an intern. I mean, I was not expecting it to be. I'm feeling embarrassed. But mid-semester exams next. What is the purpose of the map function? The map creates a new array with results of the column provided function on every element in the array. For example,